Here we go. It's time for another sprint zone, and we're going to start a little earlier. This one's for the week of July 14th. Looks like it's a pretty peaceful group here, and we're starting a little earlier to showcase like what actually goes on before the sprint zone. So we see some of the people in tow. Isla, Ilka, looks like Greg back there, Matthew Michaels, and Dean. Everyone's having a good time. There's Ilka, got her mountain bike shoes on, kind of interesting. Up front, we have Curtis. It looks like Carl next to him. We got Ian, the new guy Scott, John Lawler, and way up front, we got Byron. So everyone's chilling. It's a pretty peaceful pace, like 19 mile an hour. No one's doing anything crazy. And this is pretty much the warm up. For once, my heart rate monitor seems as if it's actually doing something, so that 131 beats is actually correct. Wattage not too high, mid 100s, 140, so it's pretty chill and it is truly a warm up. Back in the back, everyone's in a good line. I like this. Double pace line. People could be a little closer together, but the film actually makes it look like people are further apart. But this is actually pretty tight. So now we're rolling into the stop sign for the beginning of the melee. Everyone's going to make a smooth stop. Great that Byron is up front. We see a car to the left, and he makes the official stop. Once again, doing it better and cleaner than some of the other groups out there. Because there's a cancer where people just start rolling through stop signs going right, and it's just bad. I don't really want to see that happen on this group. Regardless, it's sprint zone time, and it's time to go up near the front. Curtis is hanging back. Haven't seen him in a while, not certain what's up. Ian looking to get a good position, and Byron is up front. So Byron and I were like just chilling for a while, just trying to decide like, yeah, what should we do? Is anybody gonna go around? So we were just doing this whole 18 mile an hour thing, not putting out a whole lot of watts, and you know, we're like, I don't know. And then Byron's like, yeah, you ready to go, dude? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And so Byron takes to the front. Enjoying some of the scenery here. We fade back and see what everybody else is doing. Ian has a good position, and as you can see, my wattage is beginning to creep up, sitting in, in the 200s. Really nice double pace line here. I mean, this group is really well mannered. There's no cars back, but pretty much everyone is in the bike lane, riding safely, and knowing how to shelter themselves correctly. Now, I should note there's a headwind today, and I knew that was really going to slow the group down. It was unfortunate, but at least it'll give some people a chance to do something. I should note that Matthew Michaels once again has charged his DI2, so he shall be a player here. So now we're starting to go. I see in my wattage in the 300s, and I'm certain this is going to be putting some people in a bit of difficulty. Looks like Ian's starting to swing a little bit back there, a little bit of struggling. You can always tell his 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 cadence gets a little choppy, but it's not too bad just yet. But the line is indeed forming, and you can see the wind like flapping on the jerseys. If you notice the World Tour guys, their jerseys are just a little bit tighter than most of ours, and that little bit of flapping is in fact measurable, and there's real resistance there. But regardless, Ian's holding his own, slowly starting to slip back. Um, and this is where the astute gentleman, and that would be Matthew, coming to the front to close this gap because it's dangerous here. Everyone obeys the rules of engagement, and we see up front that Byron was driving this thing. So looking at the map, and knowing that that little line up top is a 4 mile segment, Byron's been out there for almost 4 miles just driving this whole thing. Matthew Michaels is like third, and he knows that this is a dangerous move, and he wants to make certain that he's not gapped off back there. Now, we know he wouldn't be gapped off, but I know he wants to make things happen. And it looks like the first selection has already begun. And I'm a little bit surprised that Curtis Jensen is not in the selection here. Not certain what was going on there, haven't seen him in a while, and perhaps he hasn't been training. I know he was on some bike tour for a while, but yeah, looking back there, there's quite the gap. Matthew going to the front, and you know this is always going to be a good strong pull. There's some coordination there, not an attack, but a chance to just string people out and to work hard. Byron quick to be on the wheel, and you notice that there was no one following Matthew through. They don't want to be up front. They don't want to do any work. They just want to sit behind the big men and enjoy things. And today the big men would be Byron and Matthew, both out there driving hard. So I'm looking at my wattage and the heart rate being correct now in the 160s, mid 160s. I'm pretty much on my aerobic limit. Could I go maybe 1 or 2 beats higher? Yeah, but I would not be long for this earth if that was in fact to happen. So looking at the wattages, and there's little punchy sections in there where I'm going into the mid 300s, coming back. It's tough. And it's because of that headwind that's up there. Looking behind us, Carl back there, and Marcelo. Yes, hanging in there. Looking pretty strong, which is kind of surprising. I know he's been strong for a while, and he hasn't been training like as strongly, but to make this selection and this strong of a group, well done. And bringing up the rear back there, like John Lawler, he's really strong. A TTH guy that we really shouldn't be bringing to the end of the sprint without making him do some work, because that's just dangerous. That's almost as bad as bringing Justin Hake. And if I had to make a statement here, I think Justin sprints just a little bit more impressive. If I had to guess, probably 1300 watts. It looks like I'd say Lawler's is probably closer to 11, 1200, but I've yet to see those guys go head to head. Lawler's got a much better aerobic engine, so I've never seen Justin there when he's there or be able to take John. Anyway, Matthew at the front, and looking at the little line here, Matthew has been up front for a mile, and no one wants any piece of this. Probably for a couple of reasons. One, that there's a wind up there, and two, they're not strong enough to really do anything. So it's at this point, there's this little grade, and normally like somebody might attack. Carl had spoken earlier that his legs were like not quite there, so I figure I should go to the front and give Matthew somewhat of a break because nobody else is there. So now I'm at the front and I'm feeling the wind and I'm seeing my heart rate, it's at 168, 169, just creeping up. And looking at my power, I was trying to hold like maybe max like 270, 240 to 270. I figured that would be enough that if anybody came around with any kind of surge, that I would still have a little something. But of course, you never know how long you're going to be out there until somebody takes over. So now 168, yeah, I'm pretty much on the limit and starting to go anaerobic here. And you notice the speed, it's only 22 mile an hour, and it's because of the wind. And if I had to guess, there's probably a good 10 mile an hour headwind pretty much straight on. And you can see that it's probably one of the reasons that a lot of people are able to hang on. Because when you have Byron and Matthew up front, that's a big draft. And you throw Carl in there and you got something. So Matthew thanks me for a little bit of assistance up there. And finally, the crew is going to pull through. I was a little bit, surprised that they just didn't open up a gap and let me come in, but it looks like they want to be there. And I'm okay with that. So I'm tagged on the back and I'm thinking to myself, this draft isn't really much better back here than it was just sitting behind Matthew. So now I'm not all that happy because I'm further back. But with that little surge, the speed has increased from the 22 that I was doing up to 25. So even sitting in, look at that, 200, almost 300 watts in there at times. So it's just not easy. So Matthew comes off, certainly gassed from the efforts he's put in earlier, and now Byron has taken over, driving really hard here, and you're seeing, me over 400 watts, 450 watts, just to hang on the back here. This is a testament to how strong Byron is. And of course, he's reminded me, as in the past I called him out as being a Cat 3. He was a Cat 3. He's currently not a Cat 3 or racing Cat 3. But like I always say, a half-empty can of whoop ass is still a can of whoop ass. And he's certainly stronger than any Cat 4 that I know. So we're just a ramming and a thumping back here. And I'm sitting behind like Mr. Lawler. And He's had a free ride all the way through, as has the new guy Scott, who's very impressive. But I think Scott's reign is over. So I closed the gap here, little surge here, and a further selection has indeed occurred. I don't know what's going to happen here, but Byron up there driving super hard. I figure he's not going to have much for this sprint. Maybe he's testing himself to see if he can go hard and sag back and get back on, but we'll see. So it looks like, yeah, Matthew sitting back there getting a little bit of a break. I probably should have asked him for his numbers to see how fast he was actually recovering back there. I guess I've note not quite certain why Dean isn't up here with the rest of us, but I'm guessing there must be another race, so he's doing what he can. All right, this is the danger move here. Matthew going to the front here, and John Lawler, being an astute racer from back in the day, knows when there's danger here. I'm like barely hanging on, but trying to cover this move at over 400 watts. And you can see finally, like my heart rate has gone into the 173s. Beep! We're talking red line here. Yeah, I have seen it go into the 180s, but that's when I really, really wanted it, and there was like a race, and there was like more pride here. Here it's like, it's a headwind. I want to be here, but I'm not gonna go all out and tank myself here. So it looks like I got a reasonably good position, heart rate 177, and now Matthew kicks again. And this is where I'm going to have to say, in my best Spanish, no mas. Looking behind, it looks like that move was enough to have gapped Byron, but he is pulling me back as we get close to the summit here. I'm gassed, and it looks like right over the summit, Byron pulls in for third. Marcelo, impressive run for fourth there. Very nice job, and I cruise in and trying to get my heart rate to come back down. Watch dropped. Life is good. And I see some dirt on my lens. I wish I would have cleaned that lens before I went out there. Maybe from, I don't know what it is, with sweat or something. Gotta apologize for that. Anyway, looks like a good time was had by all. Um, Pretty safe. Be nice to see some of the other guys come to the front a little bit. But if that's all they got, that's all they got. And it looks like John Lawler took that one. And mental note, just don't drag him to the finish. You know, that's what's going to happen. He's going to be there. Or like save a little something. I guess if I had done less work, and perhaps this is hubris, if I sat back and like didn't do any work the whole time, there's a good chance that I could have won that one. In fact, there's a really good chance I could have won that one. Yeah, but like I said, it's hubris speaking. Anyway, good time was had by all. Thank you, everyone. Same time next week. Let's do it again. Peace out.